Okay, so I just want to run you through, I'll just show you the basic stitches for overlay mosaic crochet, and I also want to just run you through if you want to use the bonus extension charts in Gonks Holiday. Now, I came up with the idea for the extension charts after the main pattern was already in testing, so I didn't really have time to do the written instructions for it, but I did think it was important to add it. Now, the reason is, you can see here, I've got two of my Santa Gonks here. Now, this repeat is 32 stitches wide, so 32 stitches and then however many times you want it. So I've got 64 there, and then you add the 5 on for the sort of the balancing stitch, the edge chains and the edge stitches. Okay, so that's why, so Gonks is 32 plus 5 stitches. Now the reason for that, I originally designed them, if you actually count up, each Gonk is basically like 23 stitches, so there'd be one between. So I did them, they were to fit into my 48 stitch repeat, but when I looked at them all together, I thought they were too squished up, too close together, and they needed a little bit more space, which is why I then added this extra 8 stitches. Okay, so if you want to, I mean, you can just do any multiple of 32 stitches plus 5 if you're just doing Gonks, but I do try to get everything to fit into a 48 stitch repeat, just because I know, me personally, I like to mix and match things. So if you want to do that, you can start with a multiple of 96 plus 5 stitches, so that's 3 lots of 32 stitches, or 2 lots of 48 stitches, then they will work together. But obviously if you're already doing one of my blankets which starts with 149 stitches, which is 3 lots of 48, then that won't quite work. So the idea of adding these extensions charts was just so that it would work. You can just add an extra 8 stitches on each end of your Gonks and it'll fit in. So that is what I want to just show you here today. So this is just the standard 2 Gonks wide. It doesn't quite fit there, my camera's a bit too close, but so that's that. So we're not doing that. What I have got is another little swatch that I've made for something else, which happens to be one 48 stitch repeat wide plus my 5 extra. So this is a 53 stitches that maybe if you want to do a table runner or a wall hanger you might be doing. So I want to just show you how you can take your 32 stitch Gonk, put it in the middle with your 2 extension charts to make it all work out. So that's what I want to run through here today. So what you'll notice, I've actually already done the first 2 rows. So rows 1 and 2 of the Gonks and the extension charts are just plain rows. So I've done them already. I have got also 2 markers. Now what I'm going to use the marker for is just to show what would have been like the end stitch. So like stitch 3 or stitch 35 on whichever Gonks chart you're doing. Okay, so we're going to mark that, and that'll just make it easier. So I've shown them on the extension charts, they are highlighted in blue. Okay, so we're not going to be repeating them, that's just so you can get an idea of how they all fit together. So I'm going to be marking them with my markers there. Okay, so I'm now picking up my contrast colour. Okay, and when you're doing mosaic, overlay mosaic, you always start with a slip knot on your hook. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily an official slip knot, but it's basically, I just do like a loop the yarn round, make a chain and pull it, and that works as a slip knot. So you've got a nice secure knot on the end. And then we're going to start every row the same. So you'll notice that both on the extension chart and on the main Gonks charts, they always start. So I've like repeated the edge stitches, okay? So you're always going to start with a standard double crochet under both loops and then a chain, okay? And there'll be a chain underneath, so we're going to miss that chain, okay? So what we now do, if you were going straight into the Gonks, you would now have, it's like the balancing stitch I talked about, which is a front loop treble. But because I'm showing you the extension charts, we're not doing that. That is basically where you would effectively, if we had another marker, we'd put a marker sort of in there. That is our stitch 3, okay? But our stitch 3 is going to kind of move up, because what we're now going to be doing is inserting our extension chart before that stitch 3, that balancing stitch, okay? So for the extensions, what we're now going to do is start with 4 back loop double crochets. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've added an extra sort of tall tree. Okay, so we're now going to start the trunk for that is going to now be in here. Okay, so that is 1 front loop treble. So if you're not familiar with overlay, oh, well, that's what I should have told you. I'm forgetting that this isn't, because I haven't started at the beginning, I've forgotten that I'm trying to put the basics in. Your basic background for all of your overlay mosaic crochet is what I did there, double crochets into the back loops. Okay, we're leaving these front loops free because we're now going to be using them to create our pattern. Okay, and to create our pattern, we're going to be basically working in front of these stitches, covering up some of them. So we're going to be working a treble 2 rows down. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Well, the trunk of our little skinny tree there is, so we're not working into that row. We're going to actually work 1 row down, and we're going to work a treble into there. Okay, and then for our extension chart, we've got 3 more back loop double crochets. Okay, 2, 3. So that is our extension for the first part of the row. So now we come to, if you're looking at the extension charts, you'll see we've got we're making another front loop treble, but that is in blue. So this is now going to be, remember, stitch 3. Okay, so we'll I'll put that in after I've made the stitch. So this is our 8 stitches extension. We're now going to switch to whichever chart you want to do. Now I have decided that I'm going to do the reindeer because I think it's quite cute. So I'm going to make the reindeer at this point. But all of them will start with the same little mini tree that goes between all of the charts. Okay, so, and that is another front loop treble there. Okay, so that is stitch number 3 on the main chart, and it's also the one, it's marked in blue on the extension chart. So that is where I'm going to pop my marker. Okay, so now we're switching to the whichever chart you're doing. As I say, I'm doing the reindeer, so for that I have got 4 more back loop double crochets, 2, 3, 4, and then I have got a run of 9 front loop trebles. Okay, so just showing you that. So I am now going to carry on and get this row done. So I'll get right up until stitch 35 on my reindeer chart, and then I'll come back and we'll go through the extension chart at the end of the row. Okay, so I've now got up to stitch 35. Well, this is stitch 34 I've just done. So I'm now going to do stitch 35 on my chosen Gonk chart, and that will be, whichever chart you're doing, that will be a front loop treble. Okay, and then I'm going to pop that marker in there. So if we now switch to our extension chart, remember what we've just done, the one I've marked is the one in blue there, so that would be stitch 35 on your reindeer chart. It's actually, because we're now making it 53 stitches wide, it says the next stitch is going to be 44 on the extensions. Hopefully that makes sense, because this is actually stitch 44 on my sample here. Okay, so we've now got, like I say, we switched to the extension chart, and we've got another 4 back loop double crochets, sorry, 3 back loop double crochets. Okay, then 1 front loop treble, so that's also going to be one of the tall trees to balance out. There's a mirror image of what we're going to do at the beginning. Okay, so we've got that there, and then we've got 4 back loop double crochets, 2, 3, 4, and every row is going to end with 1 chain. We're going to skip the chain underneath. There we go, and we've got end with our edge stitch, which was a double crochet through both loops. Okay, so all of the other double crochets have been in the back loop only, but the ones right at the beginning, right at the end, are through both loops. Okay, so now we're going to go to row 4. So for this one, as always, we're going to be starting with, so every row will start the same. Slip knot on the hook, and we start with a double crochet under both loops and a chain. Okay, so now if you look at the extension chart, you'll see we've got 4 front loop trebles, so we're going to be filling in this little space here with front loop trebles. Okay, so into that loop down there, 2, 3, 4. Then we've got a back loop double crochet. Now when you come to a treble on the row before, you are always going to have to do a back loop double crochet. You can't do a treble because there's no front loop available there to work into. Okay, so that is our back loop double crochet, and then we've got 3 front loop trebles. 1, 2, 3. So now we have come up to that blue stitch on our extension charts, which is stitch 3 on our chosen Gonk chart. Okay, so that on row 4, and as I've said before, there's got to be a back loop double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to work that there into that marked stitch. Now I'm actually going to leave that marker there on this row, because when we come to do row 5, we're going to be working into this stitch again, so that'd be better to just keep it at the front, but every couple of rows I'll move it up. Okay, so now I've moved to my reindeer chart. You'd be whichever chart you're doing next, and we've got 4 front loop trebles again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have got a whole run of back loop double crochets, which is going to go all the way across the reindeer until we get to this 4 again. Okay, so I'm going to carry on and do that, and then I will see you when I get to the end again. Okay, so I've now got to the end of my run of back loop double crochets there, and we've now got that's 4 front loop trebles right at the end of my reindeer chart here. Okay, 3, 4, and now I've come to that marked stitch, which is stitch 35 on my reindeer chart, and is also that blue the blue stitch at the end for the extension chart at the end. Okay, so, and as we said before, that's got to be a back loop double crochet because we've got a treble there. Okay, so now we move back to the extension charts, 3 front loop trebles, 1, 2, 3, 1 back loop double crochet, and then 4 front loop trebles. Okay, 3, 4, and we're ending with 1 chain, miss the chain, and a double crochet under both loops. Fasten off. Okay, so that's probably all I need to show you, just to explain basically how the extension charts fit in with the main pattern. Now obviously I've only been doing the one Gonk in the middle here. It would work if you were doing a 149 stitch wide blanket, which is my standard size for sort of ho ho ho. What you would then have, you'd actually have 4 Gonks between your extensions. Okay, so 4 lots of 32 is, what was that, 128, and then you'll be adding a 16 onto it, which is 144 plus 5 is 149. Okay, so if you find actually you really like these extension charts, but you're not going to combine it with anything else, but you still want to finish with the little extensions, then you can do any multiple of 32 plus 5 you like, and then just remember to add 16 on, because you're going to have 8 extra stitches at the front, at the start and at the end of the row, between basically the edge chains and then that sort of first stitch of the pattern. Get what I mean? So yeah, if you're new to overlay mosaic crochet and you need a little bit more information about how we get started and how it all works, then please do take a look at my my tutorial video. I'll put a link in the description here so you can go straight to it, because that will give you much more information. Okay, and that tutorial I'll also include, because Gonks Holiday doesn't come with a border, but if you want to add a border, you can add like from Ho 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 if you want. But you can also, if you want a free option for just a nice plain border, again, if you look at my mosaic crochet tutorials, there's a playlist for them. Actually, if you look on there, you'll see there's one for the border as well. Okay.